Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from the CoWorker Stories subreddit. It's from Miserable Willow 312 and says, "Every job has one, I'm convinced. The Cheryl saga." And just to give you a couple of trigger warnings that's on there, there's hostile workplace and homophobia as well. So if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. It says, "There's a woman at work named Cheryl, and I swear every office has a version of her. She's not openly mean enough to get in trouble, but she somehow makes the entire atmosphere heavier the second she walks into a room. You can literally hear conversations die when she appears around the corner. Cheryl acts like she's management despite not actually supervising anyone. She monitors everyone constantly. If someone comes back from lunch a few minutes late, she'll quietly say, 'Half days must be nice.' If someone calls in sick, she suddenly becomes an investigator. They were fine yesterday." She also has this talent for disguising criticism as concern. She'll say things like, "You seem really tired lately. Everything okay?" in front of other co-workers, so now everyone turns to look at you like you're falling apart. The break room is the worst. Someone could be talking about a new puppy, vacation plans, or literally anything enjoyable, and Cheryl somehow redirects it into negativity within 30 seconds. Co-worker says, "We're going camping this weekend," and Cheryl says, "Hope you packed emergency supplies. My cousin got stranded once and almost lost a toe." Nobody even knows how to respond to that. She also keeps track of things that no normal person should notice. She remembers exactly how long people take on break, who leaves early, who orders takeout too often, who seems off lately. She never directly accuses anyone of anything, but she says just enough to make people uncomfortable. The strangest part is she genuinely thinks she's helpful. If there's tension in the office that she personally caused, she'll sit there saying, "I just think communication is really broken down around here." Meanwhile, everyone is actively avoiding eye contact with her. At this point, people schedule lunches around Cheryl. If someone sees her heading for the break room, they suddenly remember they have emails to finish. New employees usually try to be friendly with her at first, but within about 2 weeks, they develop the same 1,000-yard stare as the rest of us. What makes it worse is there's never a big dramatic event HR can point to. It's just years of constant small comments, judgment, negativity, and hovering until the entire office collectively feels emotionally exhausted whenever she's around. I'm not bothered enough by her to leave my long-term employment, but she really does make the work feel exhausting. There's probably several people that I know that could be similar to this, but there's one that really jumps out in one of my jobs. It was where I was working in warehouse, and she was the HR department and the assistant to the managing director at the same time. And when talking to her at first, you think, oh yeah, she's a really lovely person, but a nosy, bloody hell, if you think I'm nosy, you should see her. But she would also almost like patrol the offices looking for issues and then raise them and try to make those issues into even bigger issues. I remember my friend that I was working with at the time in the warehouse, and when you have to go into the warehouse, you have to wear all your safety gear. We had like bump hats at the time, high vis, safety boots. My friend didn't have his safety boots on at the time. He just got back from lunch, but she asked him to go and get, because there was filing that was stored in the warehouse, like archive paperwork. And she came rushing in, asking him to grab something for her. "Can you go and get me this bit of paperwork?" And he said, "Oh, sir, which one? I'll grab it really quickly for you." And he went in without putting his safety work boots on, which issue, but he was doing her a favor. And it was literally probably about 10 steps into the warehouse just round the corner. And he did it. And then she later sent an email to his manager saying that he did that and he should be more careful in the future. And it's just like, you cheeky bastard. But in the comments, OP added, "I know complaints have been made multiple times in how she treats others. Yet HR always says they can't discipline someone just because others don't like her. I don't like her because she's insufferable. And I'm looking at her right now. I'm looking at her right now as she licks the peanut butter off her peanut butter cheese crackers wrapper. I really wish she would use some sick days to give us all a break." Commenter says to OP, "Energy vampires. They exist to ruin everything." So it was a week after that post that OP comes in again and says Cheryl strikes again. Cheryl has everyone irritated again, and it's day 1 back from 4 days off. She has this habit of correcting people publicly over the smallest things. This morning, one of the newer staff asked a simple question about documentation requirements, and instead of just helping, Cheryl goes into this long, condescending explanation in front of everyone about how these are things that people should already know before working here. The room got quiet fast. What makes it exhausting is that she constantly presents herself as the only competent person in the office while creating tension everywhere she goes. She'll complain that morale is bad, then spend the entire day gossiping about co-workers, questioning how other people do their jobs, keeping track of coffee breaks, and forwarding passive-aggressive emails instead of just having normal conversations. The funniest part was right after going off on the new staff. One co-worker finally got a subtle dig in without sounding unprofessional. Cheryl started criticizing how the staff member organized their caseload notes, and after Cheryl finished talking, the co-worker just calmly said, "I think most people care more about whether the work gets done than whether it gets done Cheryl's exact way." Nobody said a word after that. A couple of people suddenly became very interested in looking down at their laptops, trying not to laugh. I did a low chuckle before I could stop myself, so I'm sure I'll be under scrutiny from her this week. The wildest part is Cheryl seems genuinely confused why nobody wants to work closely with her anymore. She said as much right before the morning meeting. People aren't avoiding Cheryl because she's strict or direct. They avoid her because every interaction feels like she's keeping score against them. Royal says to the OP, "What is Cheryl's role in the company?" OP says she's a caseworker and not in charge of anyone. Just a cog in the wheel, but she thinks she's everyone's supervisor. Commander says, "Just quote Cheryl from Archer with, 'You're not my supervisor.'" I always hate these types. The types that think they're God's gift just for existing and that they're in charge when they're like ninth in charge. They also want to extreme overhaul things the second they walk in the door and think the rules will change because they say so. OP says it's like she lives for confrontations and just zeroes in on anyone who tries this. "I've been at this agency for 24 years and she's been here a little less and she's always been this way. I mostly stay off her radar because of my longevity and ability to remain incognito." And more on Cheryl. Cheryl is in her 40s, and this is only her second job ever. She likes to remind everyone. She has this huge sense of entitlement based on her tenure and belief the only two jobs makes her better than others. So it was 6 days after the last post that OP came in again with another one that was titled, "Cheryl might have talked herself into real trouble now." I think we finally have something solid for HR to act on. Our agency is a community mental health provider. We're planning to have a booth at the local Pride Festival this month. Cheryl was assigned to help organize the agency swag and take a shift staffing the booth. During morning staffing today, we were going over the plan when Cheryl looked directly at Katie, the only openly gay employee on our team, and said, "I'm not sure why I'm doing all this extra work when you should probably be doing it. It's for your people anyway." Without missing a beat, Katie replied, "It's not extra work, it's part of your job, and if everyone followed your logic, nobody would have helped with Black History Month events either." Cheryl rolled her eyes and said, "Real causes are fine, made up things are silly." The room went completely silent. The subject was immediately changed to other business. Katie got right up after the meeting and walked to HR. The rest of us already have emails on our inboxes scheduling meetings and requesting written statements about what happened. For the first time in a long time, it feels like Cheryl might have finally crossed the line that she can't talk her way out of. So, 4 days later, OP comes in with a post titled, "Cheryl once again foils justice." Well, we finally heard back from HR regarding Cheryl, telling our openly gay co-worker that she should be the one doing the Pride booth work because she's the gay one, and Cheryl isn't. HR determined Cheryl's comments were inappropriate and unprofessional. However, they also concluded that Cheryl was attempting to discuss staffing assignments and did not intend to offend anyone, because there was no evidence of malicious intent and because Cheryl has no prior disciplinary actions on file regarding this type of concern. She received a written warning and coaching from her supervisor. The part that really got people was HR's recommendation going forward. Rather than removing Cheryl from Pride-related activities, management decided that all staff participating in community outreach events will complete a short 3 hours cultural sensitivity training next Saturday. So Cheryl got a write-up, but now everyone else has to sit through training too, and on mandatory overtime. When Katie asked why Cheryl was still allowed to work the booth after making those comments, management said they believed this was a learning opportunity and that excluding her would be counterproductive. So the employee Cheryl singled out gets to spend the Pride event working alongside the person who told her the event should be her responsibility simply because she's gay. And the rest of us sink a little further into a hole of regret for helping keep this monster alive in our office. Cheryl, meanwhile, has been telling people she was cleared by HR and that the whole thing was just a misunderstanding. She's like a cat and has 9 freaking lives. 8 days after that post, OP updates again and says a lot of people ask for updates on Cheryl, so unfortunately, I have one. For those unfamiliar, Cheryl is the co-worker who recently informed one of our gay employees that she should be doing most of the work for our agency's Pride booth because it was for your people. HR got involved after multiple complaints and we were all required to attend mandatory cultural sensitivity training today. You would think Cheryl would maybe lay low for a while. You would be wrong. Despite not being anyone's supervisor, Cheryl continues to act like she runs the place. She still inserts herself into decisions that have nothing to do with her job, tells people how they should be doing things, and generally behaves like she's management's special project. As for HR, they've apparently decided that checking a box is easier than actually addressing behavior. The solution was to gather everyone in a room for mandatory training, which somehow managed to punish the entire staff while accomplishing absolutely nothing. The highlight of the week happened during the staff training itself, this morning. The facilitator was discussing respecting different backgrounds, experiences, and identities. Most of us were quietly listening and trying to get through it. Cheryl, however, seemed personally offended by the entire concept. She interrupted repeatedly. She argued over examples. She spent a good portion of the session explaining why people are too sensitive these days and insisting that everything is offensive now. At one point, she loudly announced that she treats everybody the same, as if that was some profound contribution to a discussion about cultural awareness. The room got so uncomfortable, you could practically hear people trying not to make eye contact. The best part was watching her confidently argue with the trainer about a topic she was literally attending training for because of her own behavior. The lack of self-awareness was almost impressive. Meanwhile, the employee who was actually targeted by Cheryl's comments sat through the entire thing with far more patience and professionalism than I would have managed. By the end of training, HR probably considered it a success because everyone signed the attendance sheet. The rest of us left with the same Cheryl we walked in with. She's still acting like the boss, she's still entitled, she's still convinced that she's the smartest person in every room, and HR is treating her like a paperwork problem instead of an employee problem. At this point, I fully expect Cheryl to volunteer herself as next year's cultural sensitivity trainer. And around 11 days after that post, OP came in with another one, saying, "Update, Cheryl's Pride booth volunteering went as we all feared." Remember Cheryl, HR's favorite learning opportunity? Well, our agency had a booth at the local Pride event this past weekend, and she showed up, even though we were all hoping she would have called in sick. None of us were optimistic about the outcome and took bets on how long she could go without saying or doing something inappropriate. Cheryl, along with the rest of the staff, completed approximately 12 hours of mandatory diversity trainings, and she had assured everyone she was much more aware now. That confidence lasted about 12 minutes into the event. The first awkward moment happened when Cheryl began what she described as respectful curiosity with a gay man who stopped by the booth. "So, when did you know you were gay?" Before he could fully answer, Cheryl followed up with, "What made you decide to become gay?" Oh, dearie me. And then, because apparently there are achievement levels in inappropriate conversations, she said, "Have you ever really given a woman a fair chance?" The poor guy looked like he was trying to calculate whether escaping into traffic would be easier than continuing the conversation. Later, Cheryl met several transgender attendees and demonstrated her commitment to inclusion by consistently using the wrong pronouns despite being politely corrected multiple times. At one point, she referred to a transgender woman as he 3 separate times in less than 2 minutes. After being corrected, Cheryl smiled and said, "I'm trying. This stuff is just so confusing these days." For the record, the woman in question had long hair, makeup, a dress, a purse, and introduced herself using she/her pronouns. The only thing confusing was Cheryl's determination to turn every interaction into a pop quiz she hadn't studied for. The rest of us spent most of the event performing damage control and redirecting conversations before Cheryl could ask anyone if they had considered trying the other team. By the end of the day, our Pride booth was less community outreach and more a live demonstration of why HR needs to keep scheduling mandatory trainings. The good news is, nobody filed a complaint. The bad news is, Cheryl now considers the event a huge success because she asked a lot of questions and learned things. We're all terrified to find out what she learned. Edit. Instead of responding to each commenter, I'll respond here. Every co-worker has tried more times than we can count to redirect, educate, and change Cheryl's inappropriate behavior and comments. We are not her superior. She answers to HR directly, as so we all, since we work in a satellite office. Detailed notes are taken endlessly and given to HR on Cheryl, but each time there are little to no real change. Our agency has a system of discipline that is followed meticulously. For instance, she received a coaching for her remarks made to our CoWorker about how she should be doing the Pride event planning because it benefits her community, not Cheryl's. We were all made to attend mandatory cultural training to ensure HR covers the agency. If Cheryl's behavior during the Pride events receives HR attention, it would again be coaching due to it being a separate event. It's near impossible for individuals like her that are mostly covertly and live in plausible deniability land to be fired. Every single time one of us has made retorts to her unsavory comments and behaviors, we ourselves get HR attention. None of us want to become unemployed, so we do our jobs, alert HR to concerns, and do the best we can to survive her. Now clearly, Cheryl's a big fucking problem in this place, but also HR, because there's difficult co-workers in every workplace, right? But this woman has apparently spent years creating this shitty environment, micromanaging people, thinking that she's the manager of the place, making passive-aggressive remarks, singling people out, and now making discriminatory comments, and yet every response from HR seems to be, let's coach her, let's teach her, let's have everyone else do training, and it's a learning opportunity. It's like, no, she's proving she's unwilling to change, so she needs to be dealt with here. But what about you guys? Have you ever had your own nightmare co-worker? How did you deal with them? Let us know in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Valentine Blue from the Relationships subreddit and says, my family was robbed and we know who did it. How do I comfort my family and confront the robber? My relationships. I'm completely devastated right now. So I live in City A, but we've been staying with my boyfriend for the past couple of days to sit my university exams in City B. I didn't bring much, just some clothes and my computer. At home in City A, I live at my mother's house alone with the family dogs and my cats. My mother lives at my father's house with him and the kids. While I'm away, the house is empty. My mother goes over to my house twice a day to feed the animals and let them in and out. I got a call this morning from Mum saying that the house had been robbed. Everything that isn't a large item was cleared out. TVs, laptops, even my clothes, bikes, shoes, and makeup. My immediate concern is the animals, who were accounted for and fine. Mum lets me know she's going to take note of everything that's missing and file a report. I thank her, hang up, and start crying. The rest of the day I'm just filled with anger and hate and anxiety. My mum later called me to tell me that my little sister 9 let herself in and took some friends over to see the dogs. One of the friends was asking extremely suspicious questions. So, who lives here? Are you sure no one is here? Whose car is in that driveway? It's broken, just sits there. Whose makeup is that? Do your dogs bite strangers? It got to the point where my sister was uncomfortable and they left. That night, we were robbed. These friends would have been where we kept the spare key. I talked to my sister and I think she is feeling guilty. Yes, it was stupid to show where the key was, but she's only 9 and has been friends with these girls for a while. My little sister showed my mother where this girl lives. The key was missing from its spot, they still had it. I'm worried that the evidence is not strong enough to warrant a police search of the house. How should I approach them if the police do not? I can't just let it go. They have up to $10,000 worth of our stuff. This happened in New Zealand, so I'm not too sure if your legal advice is relevant here, although it may still help. At the moment, I'm just seeking advice on how to approach the thieves and how to confront my little sister and family. The door is now locked at the bolt on the inside since they have the key, but this does mean we need to get my little sister to jump through the window to unlock the door. And it also means that there's an open window that a kid can get through. I'm just feeling so stressed out and anxious, and I want to get back to make sure the thieves don't return and that my animals are safe. But I have an exam in 2 days and traveling will take a day each way. Help me. I've posted here to help relieve some anxiety as I haven't slept all night and the sun is coming up. Update in the same post says, I sent an email to my paper coordinator and she has replied saying that I should go home immediately, not to worry about the exam, and that I'm guaranteed igrotats, pronunciation, I do apologize, I only got Google on that one, a pass based on my average throughout the paper. My mother has been amazing and reported everything. She gave the police the address of the suspected house. Turns out there is a 14-year-old girl who's well known to the police there and they're going to move in on it. Fingerprints were found at my house and recorded. I'm packing my stuff now. One comment suggested talking to my sister about security and safety. I will do that, but first I want to let her know that she did a really good job connecting the suspicious behavior, and if it wasn't for her good detective work, we wouldn't have had a lead. Or something along those lines, just to help her feel better about the situation. Any recommendations? I'll update when I get home. Thank you for your replies. Update 2, and holy fuck, I'm home. Just found some of our kitchen knives around the house. The thieves had walked around with them until they knew no one was home. The girl had gang connections as well. We've called the police and told them this information, and they've upgraded the emergency of the case. All the locks have been changed and there's extra security on the windows. Mum doesn't want me to stay there tonight since I'm alone, but I'm not going to leave my pets there, and I'm worried about the furniture. Maybe I can just stay up all night on my computer. Commenter says, I would call the police and let them handle it. Commenter replies that saying, you may have enough circumstantial evidence to enable the police to enter the house or question the suspects. They may also be able to gather more by conducting a forensic investigation on your house. Report this to the police and tell them everything you know. OP says, thanks. This gives me more confidence that it will be handled by the police. I hope so. Probably the safest option. For now, I'll put the thought of confrontation aside. It's 7:40 AM, so my mother should be at the police station within a couple of hours. I myself have to get some sleep. I'll update if anything changes. Thanks. OP also says, I told my mother your suggestion. You're actually at the house now and have a good print. She says, found one good print, have a strong lead, dealing with all that stuff now, so can't message. I sent a heart, and I just realized that I sent a smile face and how big of a deal that is. I spent the last 24 hours really upset, but now I'm feeling hopeful. A commenter said to OP, you don't confront this person. You contact the police immediately, then change all of the locks. You also let your sister learn from her mistakes. Don't berate her or intentionally make her feel badly, but make clear that giving away personal information is dangerous and leads to situations like this. OP says my mother is sorting out the locksmith. Definitely going to the police. We will file a police report, but I just have a feeling that we don't have enough evidence for them to get a search warrant, and I feel like I have to do something, you know. Like I can't just let this go. But that confrontation depends if the police do search the house. We'll update on that one. Commodore says, I don't know about New Zealand. We had a similar situation. It was the neighbors. The police would not investigate, although the amount stolen was way less. They did take a report. I think if you tell the whole story to the police, they may take action. Even without a search warrant, the police might decide to go interview the people you suspect. You say there were a few girls, and you know the make and model of the car. They should narrow it down to one girl. The police should certainly go and talk to that family, and if there's anything suspicious, that might trigger a search or a warrant. With a really good police force, unlike the one where I live, they may send someone to lift fingerprints. That would be the best outcome. Please be careful and secure your home. Think about a security system. Ours was self-installed, but the company that helped us via the internet and phone calls is outstanding and costs $65 a month and has been worth it. OP replied saying, police are at the house now and they have a good print and a good lead. I'm sorry about what happened with you, and I thought the police's reaction would be the same, but they're helping and taking prints right now. I'm really relieved. I was looking at security systems earlier today actually when I was too anxious to study. Found a decent looking one with good reviews for under $200 on AliExpress. Thanks for taking the time to post. I'm feeling a lot better reading these replies. Commenter says you should also check local pawn shops in your area for the missing items. If the thieves pawned anything, you can get it back for free by showing your copy of the police report and it become part of the police investigation. When this happened to a friend of mine, we went around to the local pawn shops and asked if anybody had pawned a guitar of X type, an amp and some jewelry that looked like this or that. Pawn shops typically keep the pawned items in a back room until the ticket is either paid for in full or the time limit expires. The items then move to the floor for sale. We found my friend's stuff at the second shop we tried, and she got all of her stuff back. If anything was pawned in the last few days, you could go with a list and description of the missing items and might even find them all in one place. If you have pictures of the items / serial numbers, that would also really help. I hope I've been checking Facebook buy, sell and swap pages, but didn't think about the physical shops. Since the items are registered as stolen, the police will be notified if they turn up, but I will still go around myself. Thank you. Another commenter says, I know it's not legal advice, but hopefully this anecdote will make you feel a little better. Many years ago when my dad had his first place, he had friends over to play a game of cards. One of his friends brought a friend that my dad has never met. My father thought that this guy seemed a little shady. He was asking a lot of questions about my dad's stereo and records. This was a Saturday evening. I'm sure you can see where this story is going. The following Monday, my father comes home from work to find his brother's dog panting in the corner with blood everywhere. The blood was all over his fur, and a trail led to a broken window where there was blood and chunks of flesh. The day before, my uncle left for a 2-week vacation and left his Rottweiler with my dad to take care of. My dad never filed a police report because he feared they would take the dog away. Instead, he cleaned up the mess, went to the store, and bought the dog a nice chunk of steak. The following weekend, my dad and his buddies were out when they saw this guy with one of his forearms completely bandaged up. My dad, the ever inquisitive ass that he is, asked him what happened. The guy said it was a work accident. The mutual friend chimed in and said, "You told me you were attacked by a dog." An argument and an ass beating quickly erupted. Moral of the story, don't let strange people in your house, but your sister shouldn't feel bad about it. It's just a hard lesson learned. Opie says, "Oh my, it's absolutely awful. We have 2 dogs at home, a German Shepherd and a Border Collie. The Collie was in the garage and the German Shepherd was in the bathroom. I'm actually glad they were locked up. Mum says there was a sign of distress from the German Shepherd, who our guard dog, the Collie, just loves everyone ever. The bathroom looked like the dog had been pacing around and clawing at the door. She's usually fine, although I'd love to think about these loser thieves opening a door to a growling German Shepherd and being like, nope, I'm glad my girl wasn't in danger." So Opie did update the post and says, "Thank you relationships for your advice. It actually helped me emotionally and led to catching the perpetrator. And yeah, confronting them would have been an idiotic idea. We found knives and their gang connections. Read the original post. So thank you guys getting that idea out of my head." So a few people advise I look at pawn shops and trading sites. I took the advice and set up notifications for every post in the local Facebook trading pages. Went through hundreds, but then I saw my stuff. It was just a big bag and a few dresses. I logged onto my boyfriend's Facebook account and removed my family from his friends list so the thieves don't connect him back to us. I sent the person, she used a fake profile, a message and started a conversation about the bag, pretending I was interested. Mum called the police and they turned up to our house as I was still talking to the suspect. Once I knew I had her, I asked for the address. Boom. It was the house we had suspected. The police move in immediately. It was kind of exciting. I had set up a sting thanks to you guys. We get updated later that day that they retrieved some of our stuff from 3 different houses. Turns out there are at least 5 people who come through our house, which is absolutely terrifying. But that does explain how they managed to wipe so much stuff. There is 1 adult going to court and the girl is getting referred to a youth justice family group conference. They didn't have our more valuable items anymore, so the TVs, bike and chandelier. They even took the light bulb. I'm still keeping an eye out, but I'm most likely going to have to replace them, which means saving up a couple of $1,000 just because some people decided to be see you next Tuesdays. Ugh. We can seek financial reparation, but the officer said that these people are of a low socio-economic status, so it'd be like $10 a week. Buy Christmas travel. Thank you guys so much for your support. I'll update if anything else happens, but I think this is the end. I'm still angry and hurt, but I'm starting to accept what has happened. I've cleaned up most of the mess they left and the house is feeling like home again. I feel closure. LDR, got 'em. Commodore says, "Go for the reparations. Leave them destitute. They deserve it." I hope he says, "As angry as I am about what they have done to my family and the stress and anxiety they put us through, I don't think we will. I do want them to face consequences for their actions, but I don't think that is the right way. They're already struggling. Heck, they even stole our food. I hate them, I really do, but they stole the items to sell for money because they needed it. If we put even more strain on them, they might go out for another hit, and the girl is still a kid. She still has a chance to do well at school and lead a promising life, not end up like her family. At the end of the day, $10 a week? I wouldn't notice the difference, but for them it's a meal that they might not have had otherwise." I'm glad that OP chose not to confront them directly, especially after finding out about the whole knives thing and the gang connections, etc. But at the same time, I'm not sure I would be as forgiving in the end. I'd absolutely be seeking every bit of financial reparation available that I could, because being poor doesn't excuse, what they did. Terrorizing a family, stealing thousands of dollars worth of stuff, and then leaving you to deal with the emotional fallout of all of this as well. But what about you guys? What do you think of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time, it always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly is absolutely amazing. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.